Hello Internet, my name is Yllemo and today we're going to have a look at the MacOS versus Windows operating system. And we have this tier list ranking type of tool in front of us. So we're going to have a look at Apple from various perspectives, and then we're going to look at the Windows from the same perspectives and see how they compare towards each other and how they compare on this little scale here. So starting off with the security and privacy settings of the Apple and the macOS, I think this really is a special tire. I mean, it's really is awesome. So I think when it comes to Apple, they're so into the privacy and security thing is a part of their core values. So it's really a special thing when it comes to Apple. And I really like the new settings in the Safari browser and how this the kind of cookie tracking kind of prevention ideas that Apple has. That's awesome. So it's a special tire for me, at least. When it comes to productivity, I don't have nearly as much experience working in the macOS as I have in Windows, but still I don't think that when it comes to productivity, especially when it comes to Microsoft 365, for example, and the productivity of creating documents and presentations and such, it's not really performing nearly as good as on Windows. So hardware, definitely an A tier. I mean, all of the Apple stuff is amazing. The feel to the touch, it's awesome, and just opening a box all the way, the experience is really, really good, and it's well designed. And it's, if you compare it to a standard PC wise, I mean, so much plastic and so much bad choices when it comes to the hardware. So I kind of like this, that the Apple is making the decisions for you in a sense. So I think it's good. I think it's an A tier for that. Software wise, I don't think there is as many software as on Windows, for example, but lately using the M1 Mac, the new Macs, you can also use some iOS and iPad apps, and that also gives a more flexibility than you can use some apps, at least that's in touch interface. But there is so much more software when it comes to the Windows than here, and also when it comes to developing software, it's a bit more advanced in the Apple ecosystem than in Windows. So and you have more tools and choices in the Windows ecosystem as well. So I would give it a B for that. Customization, I don't really think you can customize as much in Apple than you can in Windows. But I would give it a C because you can customize quite a bit, especially if you know how to do it. And there are some things that are better probably in the macOS when it comes to the customization. I do like the dark mode more on the macOS than I do on Windows. I think it's more well integrated into the operating system, the dark mode, than it is on the Windows side. Search and findability, wayfinding. Struggle a bit with this, even though I used the Mac symbol and the space bar in order to get this spotlight search kind of thing. I don't think it's as good as in Windows, especially not if you compare the Microsoft search functionality to this. It's gonna lag behind, so I will give it a C. It's okay, but it's not very impressive. Inputs, especially now if you consider just the trackpad of the MacBooks, that's really an amazing experience. If that was the only thing I would consider, I would definitely put it in an S tier. But here I'm also thinking maybe in the broader sense, the other type of devices that you want to put into your device. I find that some of the drivers for some of the things I already have is not working as good. For example, my webcam, it doesn't have all the functionality that it has on Windows because of the drivers. So it does not give me the same options. So, but it's okay. I mean they come far away. So I will give it a B tier. When it comes to the dock and the taskbar functionality, I think it's good. It's okay. So I will put it here somewhere. It's good. I mean, the dock functionality, does it work? it works, but it's not, in comparison to Windows, it's not as good as Windows, because it lacks some of the functionality that we have in Windows, but it also has some animations and stuff that's pretty cool. So yeah, it's okay. The desktop and how Windows works, not the Microsoft Windows, but how Windows work within the operating system, it's okay. It's a bit different when you come from a Windows experience moving to the Mac OS. It feels a bit strange. I mean, the maximize button is on the wrong side, and things is not working exactly the same way, and you don't really have native support for to be able to put the Windows in the correct spot. There is of course apps for that you can use, but in Windows it's there by default. So I would give it a B. It's good, but it can be improved, I think. File management, that's something I really don't like in the Mac OS. I think the Finder experience, it's horrible. I mean, it's not nearly as good as the File Explorer in Windows. It lacks so much functionality, and I struggle to become a friend with that at all. So it's not something I would rate higher than a D. Accessibility, I haven't really played around with it as much, maybe, but I think it's okay. I mean, I've seen lots of settings for this, both in Windows and Mac OS for this. But if you have poor eyesight, for example, you can put in high contrast modes, and you can basically do a lot of that, and reading functionality. I think it's comparable, at least, with the Windows experience. Gaming. Don't game on a Mac, even though you can with the new M1 Macs. You can even play more advanced games, because the graphical circuits within the Mac, it's performing okay, but the experience is still not even close to what you get on Windows with the dedicated graphics. I mean, it's not built around the gaming experience, it's built around creativity. So looking at the creativity, that's a special tire for macOS. I mean, all the creatives I know prefer Macs by far. I mean, and the feeling, I agree to that, the feeling when you're sitting in the macOS, it's amazing when it comes to creativity. You feel like you're a part of the universe, the creative universe, and you want to create stuff on a Mac. So it feels natural to be on a Mac when you want to work on graphical things, and maybe even video editing and such things. And you have this closeness to that the community that also showcase most of the things on the Mac as well. Integration, I mean, integration is a pretty complex thing, but integration-wise, I think that it integrates extremely well towards itself, the Mac and the Apple ecosystem. As long as you're completely invested in that ecosystem, it works great. But if you want to integrate to something else and you want to have a hybrid solution, it's not that good. It's okay, but it's not as good as Windows when it comes to that experience. So moving from Apple to Microsoft Windows experience and do the same thing. So we will see how this compares to the Mac OS. So the security and privacy things, I mean, Apple is an S-tier, and Microsoft is also pretty good at this. They're focusing a lot on the security and the privacy things, so things are secure in Windows, and it's also been tried and true for some time. I mean, it's been exposed by so many users for so long time, so it's secure by try and error and such. But it's not really, I don't think it's really a core key value that Microsoft is working towards as Apple do, and I don't think that Microsoft is taking the same kind of steps as Apple is doing when it comes to privacy and security kind of things. So I would rate it a little bit lower than Apple. Productivity, when it comes to Windows, it's a productivity beast. I mean, that's what most of the organization use it for, and that's the reason why it's so used by so many. I mean, if you compare, for example, standard Office, Excel, for example, when it comes to productivity in Windows, it's far superior than the same Excel in macOS. You have more features, and you have the short commands, and everything is so much more integrated, and you have tons of applications targeting towards productivity in Windows that you don't really have in the Mac ecosystem. Hardware-wise, I mean, you have more choices than you have in the Apple ecosystem, but some of the choices is choices you don't want to have anyway, because it's plastic and it's crappy inside and it's not something that you would like to use. But there are some things, some kind of devices, some kind of hybrid devices, and Microsoft their own devices, the Surfaces and such. It's good, but Microsoft don't really have the same degree of control when it comes to both hardware and software as Apple have. They have a really good tight connection in between the hardware and the software. Microsoft has suppliers that basically sell the hardware and create the hardware, so it won't perform as good, but still there are some choices and some really good hardware when it comes to Windows as well. Software-wise, I think that Windows has so much more software. I mean, the software libraries in Windows is awesome. I mean, and tons of the software is free as well, whilst many pieces of the software in the Mac is cost a little bit to buy, especially if you look at the store. I mean, the store is probably bigger in Mac, in the operating system store, than in Windows, but things are more free here, so it's more kind of open sourcey in Windows, and it's been developed a lot more software towards Windows than for the Mac, so I think this one is an A-tier as well. Customization, I think you can customize Windows, and this is also maybe a subjective reflection because I've invested so much more time in Windows, but you can do a lot more things. At least I can do a lot more things in Windows than I can on macOS. I know how to do it, and I can play around with it, and it's accessible to me, so it's not hidden away somewhere in a safe somewhere within the operating system. So I can do a lot more things when it comes to customization in Windows. The search experience is good. It's getting better. So it's better than I think that the Apple one is, because if you press the Windows key, you can search immediately. You don't need to press 2 keys to start your search. And the search experience also gives you a better kind of structure, I think, in Windows. But that's also because of the Windows Explorer is so much better, visually more appealing to me, at least, to be able to find things. And also you can search so much more, and you can have it on the dock as well, or in the taskbar, the search experience, so you have it on hand. And going forward, the Microsoft search experience will also integrate with the Microsoft 365 cloud productivity things, so it will become even better. So I could place it on A, but as for now I will put it at a B. When it comes to input, I think maybe it's in the same level as it's comparable, maybe slightly better because you have more types of inputs, but given that the trackpad is so good on the Apple, it's mostly that you use, but you can have similar type of devices and similar type of functions within Windows as well, but it's not as good and as integrated. The taskbar, I would put it here, maybe slightly better than on the Mac, because the taskbar in Windows, you can see like small previews on what the window has, and you can even have some degree of control. For example, in the Spotify app, you can start and stop the play easily directly from the dock, or from the taskbar, I should say, in Windows. And the way that you manage your desktop and Windows, I think maybe I should put it on the same level. Maybe I put it on the same as Apple. So it's good. In Windows, it's really good as well. I mean, it does its job. You can maximize and you can minimize, and you can have several open windows, and you can move around, and you can have virtual desktops and such. So it's comparable to the Apple one. I mean, it's more or less the same. The files experience in Windows, in comparison to macOS, it's way better. I mean, it's an 8-tier, I think, in Windows. Working with files is a true pleasure in Windows. It gives you so much more flexibility and productivity when it comes to working with files and folders and structure around things. So I think this is way better than what Apple has. Accessibility, put it on the same as Apple. As I said, I don't really need it myself, but in case I do want it, I know that it's there. Gaming wise, A-tier, or special tier rather, because Windows is so much about gaming. So if you want to have gaming, you have the best performance in Windows. You can't really compare. So this is one of the things. If you have a need for gaming, go with Windows. Don't even think about Apple. They're getting there, so maybe if I were supposed to be nice, maybe I can move it up a little bit, but I will keep it here for now. So if I ever do this again down the line, then maybe we can see a little bit of a change there. Creativity wise, I think you can be really creative with Windows as well. I mean, you have all of the Adobe tools, and you have tons of tools of creativity. So it's okay, but it's not geared towards creativity as Apple is. So I think that when it comes to creativity, Windows is okay. It doesn't have any obvious downsides, but it's not really centered around it in the same way as Apple is. When it comes to integration, I think that Windows is the place to be. If you really want to live in a hybrid world and you want to integrate things from all over the world, I mean, Windows is really good. Maybe if I had Linux, for example, as a comparison here, maybe we will have a true competitor. But when it comes to this, I think that the Windows is the better one. So that was my little comparison. Maybe I can move around slightly here, trying to improve it, but as you can see, I'm far more leaning towards the Windows side. I mean, I'm still very much a Windows guy, even though I'm starting to learn a little bit more around the macOS, and I really appreciate the new M1 Macs and their transition towards the new processors and being energy efficient, and the performance. I love the performance, and I love that the new M1 Max is so silent. Some really good improvements here, and also the integrated graphics. It's really making it possible to maybe even game on the Mac eventually. So I think maybe in a while I will definitely use them both going forward, but I still kind of need Windows to be effective and productive in order to do the things I need to do. So based on this, I would say that I'm very much leaning towards Windows, but macOS is coming. I mean, it's great. I don't think you will be unhappy if you've been working with Windows and switch towards macOS. I don't think you will have a sad experience, but there are some hurdles that you might need to overcome. So anyway, that was a short little introduction towards my thoughts around this. So if you like this type of content, and you do appreciate it and you want to see more, then hit that like button and maybe even subscribe. And if you would like to do your own kind of comparison like this, head over to the yllemo.com site, and you can see in the link here below that you can do your own kind of analysis and see where you end up. So thank you and have a good one.